How's it going, everybody? And welcome back to another edition of the Stupid Questions podcast. Today on the pod, we're going to be talking with Michael Arishita. He is a professional triathlete and also a founder of the company Blanks Sports Nutrition. Super nice guy. I got to meet him in Taupo, New Zealand, and even before that, actually. But this was the first time we had a decent conversation in New Zealand for the World Championships of 70.3 Ironman, and invited him on, and so glad he did because we had such a deep conversation. I had learned a lot about his life that I obviously had no clue of. And he is a super deep thinker, a very driven individual, and just an all around stand up guy who really cares about the betterment of others. So I really appreciate that about him. So without further ado, I want to introduce you to Michael Arishita. Have you done podcasts before?
I have, but it's been a while. Did one last year, but
Nice. Which one did you do?
did him Yogi Triathlete.
Okay, nice. I think I've seen it in
Doing one.
passing. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was no video. It was just audio. So I was like, dang, dude, that was like the best part, doing videos.
Yeah.
I'm like sticky still from just always having multitasking on me.
Yeah.
Um, Whatever.
Nice, dude.
Yeah. How have you been? How's the year start? How's the year been going?
It's been going good. Yeah. We've had mostly sun here in Northern California. It's really strange. So
Yeah,
I'm from the East Coast, and whenever we have
yeah,
storms, it's like it comes through in a couple hours, and it's usually really violent and loud and lots of thunder and lightning, which I figured that was the way it was kind of everywhere. But living out here, it's like they call a storm like just a consistent sprinkle. so,
yeah,
so
yeah. Exactly.
it's a lot
Different.
different. Yeah.
Oh,
But no,
that's
it's been
good.
good, man. Northern California is pretty sweet. Taxes are the only thing I don't really love, and gas prices. But other than that,
Yeah.
it's pretty sick. You've been out here, right, before?
Yeah, I spent a good bit of time kind of over there, just over the years and stuff.
Nice, man. How you doing?
Oh, dude, I'm doing well. I'm just exhausted all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
Like, it's such a crazy year. Just like since I mean, the past like month has been, especially the past 2 weeks, have just been like probably the most grinder phase of life. I feel like so,
yeah.
just like
Just
the
like
week leading into the just I don't know.
the
Yeah.
entrepreneurship slash training as a professional slash trying to sleep when you can.
Yeah, exactly. Just like trying to figure out, I don't know, at this like new phase of life and stuff. So I'm still like training
Yeah,
like 10 to 20 hours a week, but kind of like more chaotic and I kind of will just like roll up to the pool and just smash like an hour and then leave and then just punch for like 8 hours and then go run at like 10 p.m. I'm like,
yeah.
dude, I'm gonna crack and there's no way I can sustain this. But I think things are calming down. It was a really busy week leading into the gel launch, and then it's been a really busy like 10 days since the
Yeah,
gel launch. But I'm kind of hoping here, I don't know, one of these days things will calm down. But
yeah,
oh, good. This is what we set out to do. So
yeah.
it's all reflect. It's like good problems to have. It's all like if things are busy because good stuff is happening. It's like you know busy because we're also wanting to race this year and everything. So
Mm-hmm.
it's all good things. And it's just a lot of
Yeah,
stuff. You know what I mean? So it's hard to like complain about stuff.
yeah,
More just yeah, no, very very happy with kind of where things are at, the direction things are at, and stuff, and super things are exciting. So yeah, it's just been
a whirlwind.
every day
Yeah,
something new, every week it's just more chaos. But yeah, no,
yeah.
it's good.
So I was doing some just a little bit of research, going back through your old Instagram posts, just seeing some of the movement that you've made physically, obviously, but also in the business world and things you've been doing. So I noticed that well, a second ago you said you've moved into this new phase of life. So I would assume that has to do with not only the business but kind of being more permanent in one location now that you're in Flagstaff. Is that right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was yeah, I had like I've been kind of like nomadic pro triathlon life for like
Mm-hmm.
8 years or so. Kind of a long time. I built out a camper van during COVID, and kind of was like the van life triathlon, traveling around and everything for a long time.
Oh,
I sold my van in November. That was a big
oh
deal and
shoot! Yeah,
stuff. And then just kind of moved into this, so renting a 4 bedroom house in Flagstaff, and everyone at the house works on blanks and just sit all
yeah,
out of here. And it's just yeah, it's been fun. It's just been definitely a different approach to sport for sure. Like I wanted to kind of go through last year with kind of sport being, the focus and everything.
mm,
And then fill in the gaps with kind of, blanks work as time allowed. And this year and, the foreseeable future, it's definitely like, this is the priority, but I still have plenty of, goals, and still love triathlon. I love what I'm doing and stuff. So still certainly wanting to, fit all that in. It's just kind of a question of like how to fit that in,
Mm,
especially in, kind of like the entrepreneur lifestyle is like, you can kind of just do an infinite amount of work. Like it seems like there's
yeah.
always, I guess, been an entire day and just doing something that's forward progress, something that's productive, but it's like having to be then like your own boss and saying like, stop now and go do
Mm,
something, as otherwise it's hard. We've got an incredible team here, and they're good at also like keeping my like insanity in check, and like,
yeah.
hey, put it away and go for a jog, go get out, go do for a bike ride, go swim or something like that. So it is a big change, but
Yeah.
so far, loving the direction things are going. So
Yeah, man.
no
So
complaints there.
just based on the first 5 minutes of this conversation, and then obviously I know you a little bit just from meeting you in Taupo, New Zealand. Um,
Yeah,
you have a brain that works really quick, and you do a lot of things, and I think that we have some similarities in that aspect. But for you, if you were to like introduce yourself to someone for the first time, and if you were to introduce yourself to someone, who would you say that Michael Arishita is?
man, that's like $1 million question. I feel like I'm trying to ask myself now.
Yeah.
It's actually been, I think, the like internally, the frankly like the toughest thing in my life right now is almost less so like the day-to-day chaos, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's almost like that like internal question of exactly that. It's like, sports been the focus of my life since I was, you know, in high school, middle school. It's like all I ever kind of wanted was sport and everything, and I always did other things and, academics and other things and whatnot. But sport was always the priority. It was always that kind of self-identity was as an
Hmm.
athlete, and now it's definitely shifting in that way where, um, I think it is a different, I don't know, like way of life. It's a different like identification. It's a different
Mm,
everything, and it's very quickly becoming like, the blank sky, the business kind of side of stuff.
mm-hmm.
And especially when there's like outside kind of people coming in and being like, oh, that's what I want to talk to you about this and this and this.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, everyone's like looking at me, expecting me to be this person. And I'm like, I don't even know what's happening in my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's been, again, it's like rapidly adapting to new, things. And it's even just like silly stuff. Like, I don't know, we'll get suppliers sending emails and asking for like all these things. And I'm just like, I don't know what any of this stuff is. And it's like,
Mm,
okay, quickly figuring out like, what are all these acronyms of, blah, 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 blah,
mm-hmm.
blah, you know what I mean? So it's like every day is something new. And like I say, like wearing many hats, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but definitely in terms of that, like, I don't know, who am I at this point? I'm like, I don't know, man, just
Yeah.
me,
Still
just
figuring
trying
it
to,
out.
I'm just from my run. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore, but I'm
Yeah.
doing a lot of things, and we're figuring it out. Ask me again in, I don't
In a
know,
few
6
years.
months or
Yeah.
probably. Do we ever really know? You know what I'm saying? It's like I feel like
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
never really figure that out. Even I feel like, years ago, I was like, I don't know, but yeah,
Yeah, I think
it's
it's a
happening.
continuation. It's a journey. I always ask that question. I'm really curious to see what people say because it really shows
It's like,
the
yeah,
frame of mind that they're in. I mean, so I'm 32 going on 33, and
yeah,
I've interviewed people who are 10, 20 years my senior, and then people who are always also like 10 years my predecessor, however you would say that.
yeah, totally.
And the frame of mind, the things you think about, the things you, and I don't mean this in a bad way, but the things that you value, the things that you are thinking about, that it's definitely, there's a different level of intentionality about the thought and direction of things. How old are you?
Yeah, 30.
You are 30. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
30s,
going,
the new phase.
yeah, it's a new phase. It's beautiful. Like I said, I'm going on
Yeah,
33 and I feel the best I've ever been. I feel like I have
totally.
enough experience to not be totally insane, but still so
Yeah,
much yet to learn. But for you, like
yeah.
growing up, where did the driven Michael Arishita come from? Like, was this a nature or a nurture thing?
Yeah, you got some good questions. You got some good questions.
Thanks.
I don't know. Again, I feel like I think it's a question I get asked a lot, too. And I don't know, externally and internally asked where that kind of comes from. I feel like even as a kid, um, I had that like hyper obsessive personality on things. Yeah, I don't know. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, so in the prime San Antonio Spurs era. So as a kid growing up, like basketball was
Hmm.
just like I love basketball. It's like my everything. I just like dreamed of that every day. Yeah, and I would go play basketball every day after school until it got dark, and then that's when my mom said you have to be home by sunset. And I would play
Yeah.
basketball until it got dark, and then I would rush home and then scarf down food and then do all of my homework, and then what I
Do
mean,
it again
go
the
back
next
to, and
day.
that was like when I was like 12 years old, you know what I mean? Just until I started running, it was kind of a similar obsession there. And um yeah, I don't know. I think I've had yeah, I don't know. I kind of know what that entirely comes from, whether it be a nature versus nurture. I come from a family where people work hard. My siblings have been hard
Okay.
workers, my parents are hard workers. And also I think too, it's like a maybe almost less like hard work, but more just like a very passion driven. Like I always felt like if it's something you're really passionate about, something you really love, it doesn't really feel like hard work sometimes. It almost
Mm.
feels like natural, like it's almost harder to pump the brakes. It's harder to, you know, go home at sunset from the basketball court. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
Mm.
actually harder than getting yourself out the door and going and doing something. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's, yeah, I think if you have enough passion for something, then the work almost like just
It feeds that
follows
motivation.
follows. Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
I don't know where that comes.
Yeah. Good answer. No, that's
Yeah,
good. It gives me a
yeah,
little bit of insight into the background of how you grew up a little bit. Obviously, parents are
yeah.
hardworking, but do you think, or let me ask you this, were you more of a mama's boy or a daddy's boy?
Probably mama's boy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
here.
Fun questions. Yeah. Um, yeah. My I came from a military family too, so I'm sure that
Oh, really?
also played a good bit of stuff.
I
So,
would say so.
um, yeah, like yeah, my dad like commanded the hospitals in Baghdad after 9/11 and just kind of crazy kind of stuff. So I mean, kind of growing up too was always that like you know um narrative of dad's out basically like doing huge things and like
Yeah.
defending this and saving the you know what I mean, like it was big stuff and definitely kind of came from that upbringing obviously. So my mom's incredible, raised 4 kids,
Mm.
and yeah, I can see the different parts where I get a lot from my mom, I get a lot from my dad, I get a lot from my siblings, and we always kind of lean on each other in a lot of ways, and yeah, push each other, support each other, all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
I think very much again that's that nurture of I think very much who I am is a reflection of my family,
Yeah.
from friends of young ages and stuff. So yeah, I'm always grateful for them and just the life that I kind of grew up with and the lessons I learned at young ages and
Mm.
all that stuff. So yeah,
Yeah. The formative years for sure. Where are you in the
yeah,
lineup with 4 kids you said your mom had?
yeah. I'm third, so I have 2 older sisters and a younger brother.
Oh, interesting. Did you get beat up
Yeah.
by your older siblings, the girls,
Uh,
until you hit
nah,
puberty?
nah.
No?
We had some we fought a bit as kids, but it
Sure.
was more of it was like psychological warfare.
Yeah.
That's how you get tough mentally. So
Yeah.
you know, How about you? What's your sibling story again?
Yeah, so I have 2 younger sisters. The one in the middle is Sarah. She is 4 years younger than me, so she's like
Okay,
28 going on 29. And then my youngest sister is actually 12 years younger than me.
okay,
So there's quite a big gap. So yeah, me and my
yeah,
closest sister, we fought tooth and nail, and it
yeah,
was psychological and pretty physical. I mean, we never like beat each other really, but there
yeah,
was some pushing and shoving, and it's just so
totally,
interesting to me actually thinking about my own sibling story because we used to fight a ton, but when we would play, I could convince my younger sister, the middle sister, to do anything. Like I would make these huge
yeah,
jumps and just like give her the confidence through my willful ignorance and negligence that she could
yeah,
really get hurt. But she always did it. So it's always like there's this interesting paradox between siblings and how they trust and
totally,
distrust each other. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's wild. So going back a little bit, because I'm just curious a little bit more about your family. You were talking about, the passion side of things and the military influence, your siblings, you all seem to get along pretty well. Hard work was a big piece of
Yeah.
it. Um, I would say that those things curate passions because when you find something like your parents or in family typically will like encourage you in that direction if they see you show any level of interest. But for somebody who has never figured out what they're passionate about, like How would you describe when you found out, oh, like this is a passion of mine? Like, what does that passion feel like?
Um, you got some good questions. This is good. This is good.
Thanks,
Yeah,
man. I
I think
appreciate it.
uh wait, can you phrase the question one more time? Because I
Yeah.
think I know what you're saying, and I think I got an answer, but I want to like refine it a bit more.
Yeah, so in a popular conversation in the world of work, it's always said,
Yeah,
find your passion, figure out what you're passionate
totally.
about. Well, somebody who is not passionate about something may not know what that feels like. So, how did you find,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
like I'm passionate in this, and what does that feel like?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of like guess and check, I think. And I think it was like Steve Magnus who was like in his like Passion Paradox book. One of the big things he was always talking about was like explore your interests. Do you know what I mean?
Mm,
And some of the stuff, it's you don't really know how much you'll love it until you try.
mm,
And then like so too with that is a like um try it, and if you don't actually like it, then move on to something else.
yeah.
And just like I think, especially like in sport, um, is definitely something that's big for a lot of people, and definitely like one of the most I think pure side of like shin, just because it's a
Mm,
lot of times illogical. You know what I mean? It's not like there's especially like in triathlon, from so many people in triathlon or like in running, and just endurance sport or like an adulthood sport. It's not like there's like unless you're getting paid to do it, it's like you do it because you love it. And it's kind of at the end of the day, it's like, man, that's what like, life's about, is finding stuff that's not like, oh, maybe this is good for my progression of career or like this or this. It's like you do it because you love it and you have passion for it. And that's kind of what matters. And I remember just kind of hearing that and like going from running into basketball into triathlon and into, that kind of approach of just being able to like pivot from what kind of matters. And sometimes it's like, sometimes those doors are closed in front of you and it wasn't really your choice. Like, didn't make then the basketball team. Then it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm doing track and field now, and it's like, wait, I'm actually better at this than I was at this. And then it's like, then I just make my college track team. And then I started doing club triathlon in college and like
mm,
learn to swim. And then, there's, I think, like intrinsic parts of sport. And then similarly to like entrepreneurship that kind of then gives that passion. Like it's not necessarily like I've said before, I don't necessarily love swimming, biking, and running exactly, but I love the freedom of exploring, the beauty of nature. I love the
mm,
beauty of like pursuing something and getting better at something that's a quantifiable metric, and the science to it, the art of it, the like pushing it and that kind of side of things. But in terms of like, yeah, like advice for that, find your passion, find your passion. I always say it's like explore stuff, and then also don't be set on something just because you've done it, or like the sunk cost fallacy. Like, well, I've already spent this many years and
mm.
whatever. This sport, I should just stick with it or whatnot. And it's and that find your passion. I think the other thing that is a telling is not just like how much you enjoy something. I don't think that's necessarily like passion. You know what I mean? Like I've always said too, it's like the day I retire from, triathlon is the day I have a bad race and I don't really care. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
if you have a bad race and you're upset, it's just like it's not fun, but it shows that you care about it. You know what I mean? And if you go have a terrible race that you worked really hard for and you're like, I don't really care. It's like, and you should probably stop. You should probably go find something else.
Mm.
Find something else that when it goes well, you're happy. And if it doesn't go well, like you're upset. Like there's a beautiful side of the pain associated with wanting something and it not happening, Um, because yeah, that's what I mean. It shows that you're, passionate about it. I think people sometimes associate that with like, you know, fun and stuff like that. And it's not necessarily always fun. It's like, hopefully you would hope that
Mm-hmm.
more fun than it is not fun and there's more joy than there is pain and stuff. But, um, yeah. And then I just remember like the best parts of sport, like the biggest breakthroughs in sport, they mean something because of all the tough times, of the past leading into
The
them.
experience, yeah.
And then same thing too. It's like, again, it's like I kind of tie these parallels from like sport and then on entrepreneurship, because in a lot of ways, like in my internal head, it seems like this is such a massive 180 from, you know, triathlon and everything. But at the same time, I'm like, no, it's all the same, like kind of stuff. And at the end, at the most fundamental level, like it's passion, it's love. It's just like, pursuing something that's bigger than swim, bike, run. It's bigger than selling sports nutrition. You know what I mean? Like stuff like
Yeah.
that. And even just like launching this gel last weekend was a really yeah, it was like some crazy like psyche going on like the day leading into it and just all that because it was like simultaneously like this incredible moment of excitement. It's been something that's been like in the back of my mind for like 5 years of just stuff's happening, and
Hmm.
it was cool because it just felt like, you know, I love where things have become now and stuff. But the only reason like life is where it is now, like this product exists, why it is now, this business exists the way that it is now and stuff, is because of you look back and you see all of the steps that it took to get there. And like the most like formative ones, like the toughest ones, they were the ones that you worked the hardest. It didn't work out well. It's like the pain, the just darkness, like the struggle. You know what I mean? Like that's
Hmm.
actually more so a reflection of how we got to here than like the woohoo, this is fun. This is fun. It's not like I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we could do an entire podcast on like what does passion mean and pursuing your passions and stuff. But I do think, yeah, it's like try different stuff, see what you see what you like, see what excites you, see what you are thinking about, and wake up in the morning what you want to kind of go after, and don't be afraid to do something new just because you've done something else for a long time. So because
Yeah.
once you find it, it is like worth it, and that's ultimately I think like yeah, exactly that. The best part of life is finding that. So yeah,
Yeah, you said a lot of good things. I think the thing that really resonates the most, and the thing that I've heard reiterated from people who have found passion, whatever that passion project is, or product, or whatever, it could be
yeah,
entrepreneurship, or like you said, endurance based, is the fact that they were willing to try a lot of different things. Because without testing, without trying different flavors, you're not going to know which gel you like the taste of the most. So I think it's
yeah,
similar in the
totally.
way that we move and the way that we move and find our way through life. But for you, like obviously sport was a huge piece of it. You said you were on, track. It didn't quite pan out how you wanted, and you started working on triathlon. Those two things are pretty closely associated in their identities because you're an athlete in both.
Totally.
So now you're straddling this identity of being an athlete, and you're, like you said, you're becoming more and more known as like the Blanks nutrition guy. People are
Yeah, no,
starting
totally.
to like draw this new picture of you, and as they talk to you, I would imagine they start to kind of impose these characteristics or thoughts about you that you may not have even known about yourself. So as your identity is shifting, or at least in the way that the public perceives you, are you finding that difficult at all to navigate, or are you pretty secure and like, well, this isn't necessarily who I am, but it's a reflection of the character traits that I have?
No, and exactly. It's like what you just said in that second part. And I think um that's like the thought that I've been focusing more kind of on. Like I think of um yeah, like ultimately so much of who you are as an athlete, so much of who you will be as a, entrepreneur, as a friend, as anything, your role in your position in life in any different part. Same thing like with you, like the characteristics of you as an athlete, you can see then too with the characteristics of you as a friend, as a as a podcast host. It's like you have a
Mm-hmm.
level of depth that then is reflected in like your approach to sport and to sport means a lot to you, and I can see that in you just from talking about sport. You know what I mean? And then the
Mm-hmm.
same way, like the way you are as a friend, as a as a lover, as a as a podcast host. Literally, it's like you ask like deep questions, like you're connecting on more than that kind of surface level of what is your threshold? You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's more there's to that and all. And that's the same thing where like what I've tried to think of with a lot of um like this new kind of identity. It's like, well, you're looking from the outside and you can see like the surface level of things, but at the fundamental level, like it's always the same. You know what I mean? It's like I still stand by like the characteristics that um positioned me to where I ended up with, or where I am like in sport, the same way, or the same characteristics that, were reflected with who I am as like a friend. And then now as
Mm-hmm.
like as a, a leader in a business, as like an
Yeah.
innovator, like all these kind of same things that is like, you kind of keep peeling back the layers until these most like kind of fundamental pieces of like who do you want to be and stuff. And who knows? Like I don't know how long Blanks is gonna last. It's like I mean I have all the hopes and I have all the dreams of what it could become and what I hope that it will be. And ultimately, I think my big thing in the past 2 years has been this like this like, I've been calling it like tailwind mindset of just going like where it seems like, the wind is at your back, and not like forcing something that seems like it's forcing it and stuff. It doesn't mean taking the easy route.
Hmm.
Because right now, I mean, like, it feels like it's the right path, but it's just like so much work. Also, like
Yeah,
we've
you
been
got to
saying,
raise your sails in
like,
the wind for sure.
yeah, no, it literally feels, we've been saying here, like, it feels like we have so much tailwind that we're just like sprinting as fast as we can to prevent like just getting blown down on our faces and stuff. But again, it's like, it's brutal and it's hard, but it feels like it's still right. And, I mean, this was like kind of a concept, but I mean, there are plenty of different phases of like life that like I wanted to go down, you know what I mean? And that kind of stuff. And it kind of starts asking like at the most fundamental level, that's ultimately like, who you are and who you want to be. And then it becomes like what you're actually doing is like complete reflection of that. And then I know there'll be come a time and again, maybe 5 or maybe 15 years when Blanks is either bankrupt and non-existent or it's sold to someone else or it's continues to be that or who knows what happens, you know what I mean? But it's like I will continue to be me and then whatever happens next, who knows? But like it's kind of the beauty of I think this pursuit of it and this new like kind of approach to I don't know life, you know what I mean? To just I don't know what happens and who knows. But we're just kind of trusting that tailwind kind of a thing. And
Mm.
whatever happens, just kind of trusting it's the right path, but not being like afraid of whatever path is ahead and just, I don't know, taking it day by day ultimately. And that's been uh yeah, I don't know. I kind of forget sometimes what the original questions were, but that's kind of
No, you
where
answered it well.
where things are at now. So
Yeah, 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 for sure. So I guess we should probably go ahead and just lay the groundwork a little bit for what Blank's nutrition is. Obviously, it's somewhat self-explanatory, and probably quite a few people will already kind of know what it is. But talk me through before you even started this venture. What were some of like the key ideas and thoughts rolling around in your head that eventually led to the execution of like, okay, this is going to be a thing, and then walk me through as quick or as slow as you want to kind of modern day.
yeah, no, I was gonna say this could be like short, medium, or long answer kind of thing. But we'll give the medium to long answer, and maybe we'll just talk fast. But
You're good.
Um, yeah, so I have a pre-med background in biochemistry and then an MBA and then years of pro triathlon
Hmm.
experience. So it kind of seemed like this isn't a crazy like how did we end up here? Like, and then I look back and I'm like, oh, this actually makes sense. The pieces
Yeah.
are there. And I've met so many people along the way that are now like all coming like, building the dream team of all these different people that we've met along the way and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, but I remember I 2023, so winding back the clock like 2 years. It was I mean really winding back the clock like whatever 5 years of or 6 years of like kind of end of 2019. I was kind of trying to decide, okay, my time in triathlon done. Do I want to like basically um go on to the next phase of life at that point. And that point in time, I was like scheduled to take an MCAT. And I was always like, medical school was always like my original life plan since I was like a kid. You know what I mean? Just,
Hmm.
I don't know, following, I don't know, for whatever reason. And then I had like a breakthrough 2019. I had this like fastest splits at Major League Triathlon. I qualified for Super League and just was like, oh, there's like the huge breakthroughs and everything. And then I was like, 4 more years, I was like, I'm going to go 4 more years. And I pulled off the MCAT and I was like, I'm going 4 more years. And then proceeded to have like the worst 4 years of triathlon in my life. But it was
Mm.
still just like, but ended up. But then one of the things I told myself was if I'm going to do 4 more years of triathlon, I also want to be like setting up for whatever comes next. So one of the things I thought was, okay, well, get an MBA. I had a bunch of business prereqs from like my undergrad I kind of always took all the prereqs for an MBA when I was an undergrad, thinking I still liked the idea of business and doing um, that. So did the MBA and I finished it in 2023. And then I also took a MCAT in January of 2023 and then finished my MBA in like May. And it was kind of this, okay, well, let's do like a victory lap of triathlon. I was into a year of long course, then pretty much like apply to medical school. And the plan was to start in basically 2024,
Hmm.
and then uh, finish the MBA. And I remember thinking this like again in business school, I remember them saying like, don't try to create a solution for something that doesn't exist. Like
Mm.
identify a problem and then create a solution. You know what I mean? So it's like um kind of the first well, quote unquote like problem that I remember thinking in my head was, well, kind of like multifaceted, but one of the first ones that stuck out was when I was kind of like I had this camper van that I put out during COVID,
COVID.
and at the time I was sponsored by Science and Sport, and I was getting like 150 gels a month, just like all these little wrappers and stuff, and it was like this like little trash can in the van, which is always just like stacked of just like gel wrappers and just like sticky and
Yeah.
just like this seems like it's this solar powered van. It's like composting toilet, like inline water filter. It's like this off the grid, like triathlon, mobile. And it was this, but there's so many gel wrappers all the time. And then it's also this like, this seems like, you know, something here is, you know, non-congruent with the general lifestyle. But then also, remember like going and just training in some of the most amazing places in the world, just from having, you know, traveled around. And one of the things that always was like drove me crazy was seeing gel wrappers like on a trail or like after like a marathon or an Ironman or something. You just like see gel wrappers, and they would
Everywhere.
always be like in the coolest locations too. You know what I mean? Because that's where people want to go train. And I remember thinking like, okay, that's a problem that has never been really like it's been so normalized. You know what I mean? And then it was kind of this not that it was like this huge environmental angle, but it was like, that's a problem. I wonder if there could be a better solution. So then this is like 4 years later. That was the first problem that kind of like clicked as, let's go down that kind of rabbit hole and think. And then remember thinking like, well, there's no way like athletes are going to compromise performance for, you know, an environmental angle. Like there has to be more. I would have always thought like, if you want to do something sustainable, the best way to do it is to create a superior solution that is sustainable. But try to create something that's like more expensive and then it's like whatever, a worse product or something like that. It's like people aren't gonna like
Yeah.
I mean, a good example would be like a bagged water or something like that, or like boxed water or something like that. It's like it's always like more expensive, and then it's like no one's gonna buy it. You know what I mean? They're not actually gonna like do
Yeah,
anything
make
about it. Like
yeah.
it's just it's just like worse. So then it kind of came down to this: well, how do you make a better gel that would be uh like a sustainable solution? And then it kind of came from like it kind of kept going down this like this storm brain moment of, well, it would need to be it would need to obviously taste good. It would need to be, it can't be more expensive. It has to be cheaper. And then it was kind of like, well, what if it was like customizable? How do you build a customizable gel? And then it came down, and this is like 2023. This is now like almost 2 years ago now. Of like, how do you build a customizable gel? And it was like, well, what if it was like a build your own gel, that kind of stuff. And then so then like through 2023, was started like playing around with like making my own gels. At this point in time, I'd already been dropped by Science and Sport, so I had been making my own sports drink at the time. And then I was like, I could make gels. And then it was kind of like leaning into like, well, I had all this biochemistry for the MCAT that was like so much more complex than gel chemistry. I was like, dude, gel chemistry is easy compared to like what we've already, you know what I mean, had to do.
Yeah.
So we started making gels, and it was even like the summer of 2023. Like one of my, you know, best buddies, Tyler Maslachuk, we were in Spain together just with this like lab set up. And I was just like, every day I'd be like making new gels and stuff. And I'd be like, here, try this gel in the workout today. Like we'd go in and try these gels and be like, oh dude, this one is so bad. Or like, this one is like, okay. We made one that was like, tastes like mouthwash, and be like, oh, maybe this would be like cooling. You're like, dude, this tastes like a gelified mouthwash. It's horrible and stuff.
Gross.
But it was fun because I was making both our sports drink for like everything. And I mean, basically the test event off like this. It's funny actually. I mean, we're again all kinds of just like ridiculous stories and stuff during that whole
Yeah.
time. But then ultimately like start building out the business back end of like getting supplier relations, getting like formulas, running actually like numbers and stuff, and seeing like, okay, these numbers actually work. But ultimately at the end of 2023, it was like leading off with like a powder based custom gel was one, it was gonna be a lot more expensive because like we'd have to like file patents and stuff, which like now we've done that and whatnot. And just a lot more like, there's a lot more cost associated with that. It was like, man, I don't think this is actually doable. And this is so like, we're talking about something that's pretty novel, that would be hard to kind of, I think, lead off with that. So ultimately it was like, you know what, I'll just do drinks. Like drinks are easy. Let's just do custom sports drink. That's easy enough. And then did the entirety of 2024, did 1 year of, custom sports drink. And that's where the blank sports nutrition kind of, I mean, I'm wearing a shirt. So then the idea is if you order a custom, it would be like, you know, Seth sports nutrition, and it would be, you know, your carbs, your electrolytes, your flavor, the way you want it. Cause that's the big thing, is realizing, one, coming from physiology background, a coaching background, an athlete background, how dramatically different each athlete is. Like not just in terms of like sweat rate and sodium profiles and carbohydrate metabolism, but also just like preference. Like I love the mouthwash gel. Tyler hated it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of stuff like that where like people just also want different flavors and that kind of stuff. And everyone's unique. And it's a testament to the, individuality of athletes. And that's another thing that I don't think anyone has ever really, tried to prioritize. So yeah, let off last year doing drink mix. And it was always the plan to come back around to the gel, but frankly needed like more capital to lead off with that because there was a lot more other costs associated with doing that. But yeah, we launched the gel mix on February 1st, and the idea now is like we've got I don't even know if I have any around here. No, I don't know what this term like.
No, you can grab it. You can grab it.
Yeah, I'm gonna grab one then.
Yeah, do it.
This one's kind of like an old beater one, but I just happen to have this one. But yeah, it's like we got a little like gel flask and stuff. It says number 2 on it because this was like one of the ones we're using for like R&D. We'd have like 3 different ones and be testing or not. Yeah, it's like a reusable flask. And then you scoop a powder, like a gel mix. You have a special gel mix that you would scoop into here and you add water, shake it, and then just set. And it just turns into a gel on its own. And then we have like our like Blanks originals, like our own just regular mixes. And then you can have your own customs. You can do Seth's custom gel mix. You can have whatever, blue raspberry, 75 grams of carbs, 120 milligrams of sodium, and 50 milligrams of caffeine. And then we'll, create the bag, the label and everything, and then send out it. And then, it's exactly the way you want it. And then the traction's been incredible. And so there's like obviously like the environmental angle of eradicating single-use gel waste, and then the individuality and the like performance side of having sports drink that's optimized for your sodium and carbohydrate metabolism, and then also just general flavor preferences. And it's also like cheaper than anyone else. So it's like, I don't know. And that's, kind of like the vision all coming true. And just, I don't know, the feedback from everyone has been really encouraging. It's like awesome just to see. Like we had a guy last year, who just like sent this message and said, qualified for Kona at Ironman Lake Placid. I PR'd my marathon. I'm 55 years old. I ran the fastest marathon I have in 20 years. And it was the first time I've done an Ironman and not had cramps and GI issues in the last 6 miles. And he was just like, I've been training with, and he was just like, I was like, man, like this is what it's about. Like at the end of the day, it's like, we can talk about the, biochemistry, like, business side of stuff. At the end of the day, it's like about like enabling athletes for their passion. It's like, sport. It's like, you want to be the best athlete you can be. You want to pursue your dreams in sport. And what is that like? How do you do that? Well, it's like, I don't care. Like find what works. Like if this drink works for you, if drinking Red Bull, if drinking Gatorade, if drinking someone else like works, it's like, then do it. You know what I mean? It's like, but words over here, like just like that, trying to create something that allows athletes to, pursue their dreams. You know what I'm talking about? And it's like and doing it in a way that then is like, it's like evolved so much. Obviously, like the original like catalyst idea was this sustainable, environmentally conscious sport gel, but then it evolved into something like so much bigger and so much, like more, beautiful than I could have like thought of years ago. And just got, again, an incredible team, and everyone's like, just, I don't know, like it's just really been cool to see how it's come to. And then just the way that just like the general athlete community, like every day we just have people like resharing posts and we're sharing because I don't know, people are just excited about it and they're so excited about it. They're telling their friends about it. And last year we did like no marketing, and we're growing just because people are just telling people about it. They're excited and they want to share it. And it's just, I don't know, it just feels like pure. It's wholesome. It's exciting. And, we have all the, I don't know. It's like exactly that. So we have all the ideas in the world from like, oh, what about hydrotabs? And what about bicarb? And what about this and this? It's like, at the end of the day, we're talking about, athletes, their passions, their, we're being a part of that, it's like, I don't know. It's been kind of it's like the long story around of what we're doing, how it came to be and everything, and where we're going from here. We got a million plans, and also at the same time, just like the same plan that we set out to do, and just like, I don't know, create better solutions in the sport nutrition industry. And I feel like we're doing that. It's exciting, and I don't know.
Yeah.
And the brand.
No, that's not a
Yeah.
rant. That was a good story. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
there's a lot to that. I mean, there's a million things we could dive into. Something I'm curious because you've mentioned a few times that you're taking on this. I'm the boss. I'm the leader. You're trying to give the people who are working with you like a sense of leadership and vision. But then you said like internally you're like, I don't know. I'm trying to figure this all out. So for the internal voices that you're dealing with when you're like kind of talking to yourself, what are some of the things like you are most proud of, and then some of the things that you are hardest yourself on about?
Dang, thank you hitting the questions. Yeah.
I'm glad you like
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. No, I think honestly, I've said to some other people is like, I think the thing, I don't know, I have a hard time being like proud of myself. I feel like, they're just like whatever and everything. But in terms of like, I think in terms of like validating decisions and life paths and everything, I think the coolest part of this from like my own internal side of things is like people I've met over like 15 years, like people that it's like um ran high school cross country with, people that I randomly met at a race 5 years ago, one time and then never saw again, but we were like friends on Instagram or something like that. Just like people I've met like my entire life. And I've always just like, I don't know, I've always prioritized friendships and just like trying to just, I don't know, be a good person and just like make, I don't know, you know what I mean? Just like, just do
Yeah.
good, do right, and just be genuine, that kind of stuff. And it's like, just all these people that I've just like met from all over these years and everything who are just like now like seeing blanks and just are like rallying behind and just like sharing all their friends and just like, it's, I don't know, like whatever, like I don't know, yeah, a guy I ran with in high school with who I haven't talked to in years and stuff, like him, his now wife and his sister just get so much blanks all the time, like some of the biggest blanks fans. I'm just like, this is awesome. It's just like
Yeah.
rekindling with people who are then just not just like, oh, I want to support Michael and stuff, but also like just a,
They find
I
value
don't
in
know, it is
the
it is a
product.
bit of that though too. And it is it's just been a really cool thing to see like obviously it takes a village. It takes a lot of people, not just our own internal team, but just like the community of athletes who are then a part of it
Hmm.
all. And there's obviously the ones in like the first degree removed of people that I actually know and am friends with, and the way that they're all pumped about it and the way that they all want to jump on or at least try that kind of stuff in the beginning was really cool. And then yeah, it's like it's a roundabout way of saying it's like it's been validating to me to the way I feel like I've lived my life and prioritized my life since, I was conscious enough to make decisions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's been a really cool, like my childhood best friend, like him and his wife went and bought blanks. I saw the name on there. I was like, oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah.
Jeff has got blanks. That's insane. And I said, it's just like stuff like that. It's just really cool. There. So yeah, I think in a lot of ways, like, I think, yeah, definitely, proud if you want to say proud is the word for that. And then also just like the idea of like we were saying earlier, like
The stories.
take a risk, pursue something. And it's been something that was in like I almost went down the traditional path of literally going to medical school and then decided, I'm gonna go take something completely different. And um I now it's easy in hindsight to look back and be like 100% that was the best decision I ever could have made. But also, yeah, in those moments it was scary, it was uncertain. I literally drained my entire savings account to fund like the startup costs, and I was like, I bet everything on this. At this point, the only way out is through. We're just going to keep doubling down. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it is then a really good feeling, and that's again like I spent some good time like before the gel launch, just really trying to like reflect back on every step
Mm.
that it took to get here, and it was again it's a validating, and I'm proud of like just the decisions I've made throughout my life because they're all like the collection of all of them is like what ended up getting to here. And then it's a question of like whatever happens next, it comes back down to like that, who are you? You know what I mean? And that
Yeah.
just continuing to ask those questions and staying true and owning that kind of stuff is then where you would hope that then the future of stuff continues to, um, yeah, like that. Don't forget where you came from because that's the only way
Hmm.
you know like where you can kind of go kind of mindset. So I'd say that's like what I'm the most proud of.
Yeah.
So,
Do you have
and
an
what was the
inner
second question
critic?
again?
Yeah, I was gonna ask like your inner critic. Do you have like an inner critic? And if you do, what are some of those things that maybe the unhealthy kind of putting yourself down, or like the things that you're dealing with and trying to overcome?
Yeah. No, again, it's a good question, and it's it is hard. I think, I mean, really the biggest thing now is this. I want to do so many things. Like I want to race the Ironman Pro Series. I want to qualify for Nice. I want to go to Kona next year. And I want to, do all these things in sport that I still feel like I haven't gotten to really showcase what I think I could do in an Ironman. I want to train and I want to do like, I have just like those passions. And then there's still a lot of, like, can you do it all kind of mindset.
Mm.
And, I think that's one of the toughest things is that like at what point is the compromise of you you start to have to sacrifice things and then like my own like internal sacrifices, then also just in terms of like a uh like a larger piece is like you want to just do right by everyone and everything, and it's like that question of like gotta, I don't know, prioritize some things over other stuff, prioritize some people over other people. And um, that's where I think coming back down to that first fundamental question of, what is the driving force of decision making? What is the priority list hierarchy and structural decision? You know what I mean? All that kind of
Mm-hmm.
stuff becomes harder and harder. And that's where that kind of inner critic of, are you making the right decisions? You know what I mean? Are you doing the right things? I think is what's harder. Because you can just exhaust yourself just asking those questions every single day of, am I doing the right thing? Am I on the right
Mm-hmm.
path? Did I do the right thing? Did I handle that right? This next step, what should I do? And it's hard because it's like you're in an uncharted territory
Mm-hmm.
also of a lot of that. And ultimately, you just want to be able to look back and know that you did the best you could with the information and skill set and knowledge that you had at that point in time. And it was always rooted in something good. And it was not trying to, it was exactly that. And it is that I think that's actually where I get the most just exhaustion in my own internal head is just not actually the day to day stuff, but these like big decisions of trying to
Mm-hmm.
do, like we're now approaching times where we're starting to make bigger moves, take bigger risks, and getting more people involved and doing other stuff. And it is uh yeah, that inner critic of knowing now like decisions that I make have effects on a lot more people than myself. Like as an athlete for 8 years, like if you decide I'm gonna go race this race instead of this race, or I'm gonna do this training, or I'm gonna put like all those decisions, they really just affect yourself, and you learn from your mistakes and you grow from them and stuff. And definitely different when you're then in that like like leadership position, like
Mm-hmm.
side of stuff where not only do these decisions affect the internal team, but like yeah, they affect the athletes out there using products. And it's like, what product should you prioritize? What stuff should you, what price point should you make that's like able
Mm-hmm.
to give
Sustain.
athletes the products they want to, be able to have a competitive price point, but also have the profit margin to then invest in research and development and high expanding the team. And that, there's a lot of those decisions now realizing how they affect, there's like trickle effects beyond. And that's where I think that inner critic is the hardest on myself of that is acknowledging these
Mm.
decisions don't just affect you anymore. So you need to make sure that you're making good decisions and the right decisions. And um it's infinitely harder when it's a path of uncertainty and a path of
Yeah.
a new path and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that's where the inner critic is the harshest for
The
sure.
loudest. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting. It's a lot of responsibility. I've been in that position a couple of times. I don't think quite to your degree, but to where like you are responsible for making decisions that could, make or break someone's potential job. So like that's obviously
Yeah.
hugely weighing on any person's mind. But so I learned this tool a couple of years. No, it's been about a year ago. Actually, it's actually been exactly 1 year. Where
Oh, cool.
essentially somebody through this exercise I was doing, they had me write down all of my inner critic voices, basically things I say to
Yeah.
myself that, and focusing on the ones that are unhealthy. I think some of the things you're talking about are healthy because you want to have a level of respect for, what you should be doing and then having the what's the word I'm looking for? The discipline to be able to enact and like ask yourself the hard questions so that you can make the best decision given the potential outcomes and how it would affect other people. But I wrote down those
Yeah.
inner critic voices, and I was saying them actually out loud. And then I opened up this envelope, and inside the envelope was a picture of me at like 5 years old, like this cute
Oh,
little, 5 years
dang.
old.
Yeah.
And then that we were posed with the question, could you say this list of things to that younger kid? Would you ever say that?
Uh,
And that like it made
yeah.
it very black and white to me. I actually started crying. It like made it black and
Dang.
white to
Yeah,
me
it's
for the first
heavy.
time. Yeah, and I realized like, okay, anything I wouldn't say to a 5-year-old kid, I probably shouldn't be saying to myself because really at
Yeah.
our core, it's who we are. So
Yeah.
maybe write down some of those things. If you wouldn't say those things to that 5-year-old kid, like,
Yeah.
yeah, that was like a super cool experience that I had that I just had to
Yeah.
share because it was reminding me of kind of some of the
Yeah.
things you were going
No,
through.
that's good.
Yeah.
That is good.
So whose opinion, um, or the way that a person views you, who is the person that matters the most to you in the way that they kind of view you?
Mm, it's a good question. I don't know actually. Yeah, there's not like a one, I think, person that stands out. I mean, honestly, I feel like if it's anyone, it's like myself. You know what I mean? It's like I
Yeah.
want to be someone who like I myself am happy and proud of being who I am, like
Mm-hmm.
almost like future me. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like I want to be the person I am today, who like future me will look back on and be like, I'm glad you did what you did. You know what I mean? I'm glad
Yeah.
you were more like I'm glad you were who you were, and I think that's where, again, I was saying earlier about the validation of just the life decisions leading up until this point is like now I'm, literally the future me of younger me, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really just grateful that younger me did the things that he did and pushed through the tough points and just, I don't know, it's like just good friend and has great friends and still has those same great friends today. And a lot of those friends are like why I am who I am, and like just the different points of, you know, past me. And now I'm like the past me to future me, you know what I mean? And I think just being able to then at the next point of life be able to look back when this whole thing is all said and done and over. I want to be able to look back and be like, I'm glad you did the things that you, because ultimately, that's who you're, I don't know, who you're ultimately with. You know what I mean? I mean, there are
Yeah.
plenty of times where, uh, uh, yeah, I don't know. I also spent a lot of time solo over these years. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just like having lived in a van, I would like park on top of this mountain in Flagstaff, or I just park like randomly. Or I parked in a Walmart parking lot a million nights of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like all these different points of time and all these different places, and just, um, yeah, I actually one of the big changes now too, of just like how integrated I am with other people every single day. When I used to
Mm.
spend like,
A
I
lot
don't
of
know,
time alone.
16 hours a day by myself on top of a mountain in my van, or I would spend days at a time just, and I loved it. You know what I mean? I'm very, like I've had incredible friends and everything, and I love being with people. But I also very much enjoy my solitude. I think it's one of the reasons why I love Ironman training, because I can just go ride my bike like
For
7 hours by
hours.
myself.
Yeah.
And, just, I think that's an important thing for literally anyone, is being able to be alone and be like
Mm.
happy and content and at peace, like in your own thoughts and, in your own company, and I think that took a long time for me to get there.
Yeah.
And now I like wish I had more of it,
Yeah.
so yeah, yeah.
What it was it that like kind of clicked for you to where you were able to find peace with just who you are like internally with your thoughts? Because that sounds like a very
Um,
spiritual experience to me.
yeah, uh, yeah, I don't know. I think even, I mean, it's like a never ending, not battle. It's a never ending like work that you do. You know what I mean? I don't think it's a click moment of you're, boom, you're there. And I don't think in my life there was a click, boom, you're there. And even
Yeah.
now I'm not like 100% there, but I feel like I'm getting better, and that's all I'm really kind of trying to do. Um, but, yeah, yeah, honestly don't even really know. I remember a point in like 2021, I'd realized I'd never really been had extended time solo. I'd always had training partners. I'd always been with other people or whatnot. And my response to that was, I booked a one-way ticket to Spain and I rented an Airbnb for 3 months in Girona, and I raced for a French Grand Prix team. And I just literally lived by myself for 3 months, and it was, uh, and I got my phone pickpocketed day one. So
Are
then I
you
was also like, I'm
serious?
even more like in ISO mode. So I was like emailing my parents on my laptop being like, hey, I don't have a phone anymore. So can you mail me a SIM card that's connected to my phone so I can buy a new phone here? And I went like 2 weeks without having a phone at all. And I was
Wow.
like, this is what I signed up for. This is what I
Yeah.
signed up for. You know what I
Yeah. Yeah.
mean?
Just
um,
totally
but
removed.
yeah, I think it was a lot of willingly going into the positions that I knew would be hard. You know what I mean? And that was a brutal summer. Like, that was such a hard summer, but it was like, I look back on it now. I mean, like, I'm so glad I
Mm.
did that. You know what I mean? I'm so glad that was, uh, went and did the things that, yep, know are going to be challenging, but kind of lead to that growth. You know what I mean? So I
Hmm.
don't know. Um, so yeah, I feel like it's like a never ending, uh, project of, yeah, exactly. That's with everyone. That's with all of us. We're all just trying to, make the decisions that make us, feel better when we're in our own head and
Yeah.
like just try to, there's still things now where I'm like, I wish this wasn't as heavy to hold on to every day of my existence. You know what I mean? I wish this
Mm.
was not as didn't hold the weight that it does. You know what I mean? But that's I also wonder how much of that is like my own internal, just like, things and stuff. But it is, yeah, it's a never ending project and we're always working on that. And yeah, that's again where it comes down to those fundamental things that then are manifestation of the rest of your life. And
Mm.
at this point, it's this, business and sport and balancing all that, but it's still the same fundamental things that you want to be true to. And the hardest part of that is like asking that first question of like, who are you? You know what I mean? And that's where I think everyone it's a hard question for anyone. And, you can really, I think, only like ask yourself because you can't really even like articulate some things. And I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Like when you were talking, about going and being by yourself in these secluded areas and, being on your bike, I was thinking back how something that I've learned over the years is just like the value in getting to spend that solo time because the way that we process things um, mentally matters. I always find it really fascinating when what's going on internally. When I do have the option to verbally express what's going on internally, sometimes it can seem so different than when it was before it was auditory. So like
Yeah,
there's what that
totally.
so I try to even talk to myself out loud at times just to make sure like does that actually make sense? But something that
Yeah.
really is fascinating to me is so I've went to different types of therapy since I was 16, just because I went through some traumatic stuff, and it has opened up the knowledge doors to find out just the benefit of bilateral stimulation in terms. So with swimming, biking, and running, it's a lot of bilateral stimulation. You go on left side, left
Yeah.
side, right side, and there's this particular form of therapy called EMDR, which stands for typically it's done with like eye movement desensitization and reprocessing, and it's like a psychotherapy technique that's used to treat different traumatic injuries and whatnot. But you can use it, I have found, for just like working through things that like they're just in a quagmire, in a muck, stuck in our heads. For me, I'll go out and process these things. And, when I sat in therapy before, it usually was done, like I said, eye movement or clicking or something to like kind of reprocess these things. But on the bike and swimming and biking and running, it's like another level of for me to be able to process. Because if you're going out for 4 hours, I've been able to walk out the door feeling one way, come back and like just have a complete
Totally.
peace that I haven't had before. So it's like super interesting to me to hear you say like that's when you kind of go out to have that peace and to
Yeah.
come to terms with what's ever going on inside.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a great way of looking at it. And yeah, I think it's one of the best parts of sport. Again, it's bigger than just like swimming, biking, and running. You know what
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like it's this
It's that
like,
lifestyle.
and I think it's important. And um, yeah, I think yeah, no, that's I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Appreciate that sharing.
Yeah. So I have a deeper question for you as we're coming a little bit closer here. So
Yeah.
if you were to die tomorrow or whenever you die, it really doesn't have to be any day.
Yeah.
What is in your mind the best case scenario for what happens next, if anything?
Um, I would hope that yeah, it's actually like a question of not I've thought about before. I mean, I've actually like
Oh, really? I'm
um
sure if you had
yeah,
all those
I
times
don't know.
alone.
Yeah, but I think I would always be like I would hope that I think the people you meet, the people you interact with, like people like blend. You know what I mean? Like the who I am because of a collection of multitude of people and even larger collection of interactions I've had with even more people. And that's with everyone, and then you would just hope that, um, if my like source of me like stops being here because I'm dead, you know what I mean? That then you would hope that like the interactions you've made with all the different people throughout your life, then the impacts you made on those people, then go and continue to make similar impacts of things that matter to you. You know what I mean? And I think that's with whether you die tomorrow, or whether that you die at 100. You know what I mean? That's ultimately I think the hope and of anything. It's that all the people that I've interacted with throughout my life would then continue on living, maybe with an even larger like reflection of the things and the blending that we've had over our time, because they're like, dang, he's gone now, so I got to really like do the stuff that
Mm-hmm.
he should
Be a source
kind
of
of do and stuff.
inspiration.
But yeah, totally. But yeah, I had a friend in college who she was a A&M triathlon club girl, and yeah, she died of brain cancer like in college, and it
Mm.
was like came out of nowhere for all of us. And it was definitely like I remember like the week leading in, like not no one really knew what was going on and stuff, and um you couldn't really like fathom something like that happening, until it does, until
Mm.
someone's 21 years old, and
Yeah.
you see them one week and then the next week they're don't not here anymore. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
remember like that being one of the most like fundamentally changing moments of my life, because one, it shows you like, yeah, life is fragile and life is precious, and just like that, like asking that question is not like oh, that's so scary. Why would you think about that? And I think a lot of people like can't like or don't want to think about like death. And I'm like, man, death is like what makes life beautiful. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, I think of
Mm.
very much so, I live my life the way that I do because of the way that, yeah, Rachel lived her life. Because it's like, just then exactly that. When someone's then gone, you are even more reminded of the impact that that person made in your life. You know what I mean? And then yeah, you appreciate every day, and you are aware that if life ended tomorrow, that you you did what you did what you could. You
Mm-hmm.
did it right. You know what I mean? And and you made other people, and that's what like she did for everyone on the team. Like she's always like such a happy, just like good old spirits person, even when it's like in all the way up until like the end. You know what I mean? And it's like that kind of, I think, again, impact you make on everyone else is then if you can carry that. That's what I mean. It's like very much like I am who I am because of the interactions that she had on my life, and then the interactions that I've had on the next people. You'd hope that it's just like a trickle effect. So then
Mm-hmm.
it's um yeah, I don't know. I do think of that kind of idea a lot of, yeah, like the mortality of life is what gives it. It's
The
why
value.
it's special, like why every day is special. You want to, yeah, if we told you that you were gonna die on Friday, it would certainly make your Wednesday and Thursday like mean something. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then, but it's like the reality is you don't know. So, yeah, I don't know. I think, that's my answer to that would be basically the same thing that happened to, you know, a different friend who was in the same situation, who had that same effect is then carried on to,
Mm.
the other people. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good answer, man. I think that, yeah, summing that up, what you said a couple of times, like death makes the value of life understood, basically. And yeah,
Yeah.
to be able to have that perspective and truly chew on that one, I think is super important. Something that's been pretty fascinating to me over the years is so I come from a Christian background, and like this idea that God spoke the universe into existence, and then I have the same ability to speak really gives gravity to the fact that, at the end of the day, I can speak life or I can speak death into someone. It even at like the chemistry level, like I don't have the same level of education as you, but if I say something negative or mean to you, that gives off a specific or causes a reactionary chemical response in your brain that would release things that really do degrade the body or like overflood it with cortisol and stuff like that. So like very
Yeah.
literally we have that ability. And whether you're religious or not, like just understanding that, like you said, the trickle down effect, you can trickle that down in a positive way or a negative way. And that's such a,
Yeah.
I wish that I could like give my 5-year-old self that, because I remember this one experience I had when I was really young. I always had a problem talking back to my mom. Me and my mom fought like you would not believe.
Yeah.
And one time my dad came into my room and he's like, "Hey, you made your mom cry." And I remember thinking like at first like shocked, but realizing like, wow, I can make
Yeah.
a grown person cry. And that
Yeah.
like hit me. I was like, I do have quite a bit of power that sits within,
Yeah.
my lungs. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Totally. And I think, yeah. It's like, I don't think a lot of people realize that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah, it's a big realization.
Yeah.
Everyone should realize that.
Yeah.
Changes the way you approach things.
Yeah, it really does. Well, Michael, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story. I had no idea about the camper van stuff, but it seems like that obviously has been a big, one of those big pivotal pieces of your life, like you shared, obviously with the family background, the discipline, this situation with the girl who passed away at a young age, doing the van life, being a professional triathlete, and now this business. You've got some really cool highlights. I'm sure there's a lot more that we've been able to touch on, but I think that will come across as inspiring to a lot of people. And I appreciate the way that your mind works and the way that you process through these things pretty fast,
Oh,
actually.
likewise.
Yeah.
Likewise.
So, yeah, dude, I really appreciate you taking the time. Wish you all the best with Blank's Nutrition. If somebody wants to go and find you guys, I'm assuming Instagram, your website, best place to be to go to do
Yeah,
that.
it's pretty much the only faith is at this point. So we don't have
Yeah,
a whole lot of resources, but yeah, like
cool.
sports nutrition,
Sweet.
so website. I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
cool, man.
no, this is awesome. I really appreciate the time. I wasn't sure what we would be diving into, but I was excited about it, and I love these kind of conversations. I feel like
Yeah,
I'm
likewise.
glad this didn't turn into a what's your threshold and what's your
Yeah.
just training day. What's your I don't know it's business stuff. I don't know. I think again like coming back down to that fundamental questions of stuff is
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So this is what it's all about and stuff.
Yeah.
So you learn a lot more about everything.
Yeah. The older I get,
That
it's what
stuff.
really brings the most value and like energy to me. It doesn't suck. Like I feel like it adds more life to my blood. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
No,
appreciate
totally.
you being honest about that stuff. It's
I
cool.
appreciate you. This was awesome. So
Yeah. We'll do it
sounds
again.
good.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, it's good catching up with you, and yeah, great chat. I really yeah enjoyed this, and yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much to Michael Arishita for coming on the podcast, for allowing me to get to ask some questions about what's been going on in his life. He's obviously super busy, has a lot going on, and I really appreciate him taking the time to not only talk to me, but be vulnerable and unpack some of those super deep things that we were able to jump into. So thank you, Michael, and thank you guys for listening. If you made it to this point in the podcast, though, just want to say thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here. If you don't mind giving this video a like, comment, subscribe if you're on YouTube, or a review or a rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you are listening, that really helps to grow the podcast. And if you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can do that at the stupidquestions.show website. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.